Hey everyone, how are we all doing? Okay, so before we get started, everything I say in this video is my opinion, mine alone. Please feel free to do your own research, come to your own conclusions. Please do not attack or harass anybody mentioned in this video. Okay, so now I understand this is a very delicate subject, and I am very much aware that no matter which option you are, which opinion you are of, there is always going to be that one person or few that are not going to agree. And for that, I apologize. But I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. This is worrying, to say the least. I have noticed, and I'm sure that many of you have too, that this is becoming a bigger and bigger thing daily. And I feel like there are some using it to profit from. Is probably the correct way to put it. And what I am talking about is transgender children. Now, there are people who say that children are not given hormone blockers. They're not given testosterone. Why can't I say this word? Testosterone. I apologize for butchering it. This video is a very nervous one to make, and I do get my words confused sometimes, but I will do my best to pronounce things as best I can. Now, giving a child puberty blockers when they start their puberty early is going to do the job that it's meant to do. It's going to put it off until that person is of age. But if you give these to a young girl at the age of 13, it is going to medically make her infertile. And that is a concern, a massive concern. It also stops growth. And I say this because I have done hours upon hours upon hours of research on this. And I have 2 videos that I would like to go through, because I know that there are people out there, and I've been trying to make this video now for maybe 2 to 3 weeks. But I'm kind of glad that I stopped and took in more information than just dive in headfirst with and be absolutely clueless about the facts and what is being done and what isn't being done. Because it made me see what other people were actually saying about these issues. And these things did come up, that children are not being given puberty blockers, and they're not being given hormone replacement medication at a young age, and they're not having surgery before they become an adult, before they are old enough to give consent, which is terrifying. So I'm going to go straight in now with this one video where a young girl, a young lady, is suing her doctors because of what they done to her body, because of what they allowed to happen to her body when she was just a young girl. She is now detransitioning because it was a mistake. She didn't fully understand what this meant. and they wouldn't. Children don't, and that's okay. And when I say to allow children to be children, I don't mean that little boys have to play with cars and Lego, and little girls have to play with dolls and Barbies and prams. Children need an imagination. Allow them, little boys, to be Elsa from Frozen. Allow him to be Spider-Man. Play with dolls, because one day he's going to be a dad too. So there's no thing about not allowing him to do these things, because it's all learning, and learning for his own future. When my little boy was, I think it was around 2 or 3, we were in a shop and we were looking at toys, and my little boy picked up this little toy fan, but it was pink. And a woman came up behind me and said to my son, "That's for girls, that is. You can't play with that." And if she did, I looked at her with absolute disgust. I was personally offended by this woman telling my son that he couldn't pick this toy because it was pink. In the 1900s, boys wore skirts, dresses, up until an age that they were old enough to use the bathroom by themselves. This was a simpler way of potty training. And at the same time, pink wasn't a colour for girls. Because it was such a bold colour, it was thought of for boys. And because blue was a softer colour, it was thought of for girls. In the biggest making of things, why does it even matter? If a boy wants to push his doll down the street, then why not? If a girl wants a motorbike and Bob the Builder and piles of Lego and these Connect things that you make cars and things out of, why not? Children need space to grow, to learn. And they learn from us as adults. And if we teach them that they can be whoever they want to be, male, female, neither. I'm not against transgenders or the word transgender. I'm not against people being who make them happy. You can be a Disney princess if you want to be. All it takes is dressing up and being a party planner. Girls can be firemen and police officers. Boys can work in nurseries and teach. And if when they get to a certain age and they understand what these drugs do to your body, and they understand that once you go so far, there's no going back. Because these things do long-term damage to your body. And you make that change forever. Especially when you have surgery. It breaks my heart that this even has to be a conversation. And there are people out there who are using it, weaponizing it, to turn our children against their parents. Take Jeffrey Marsh, for instance, which I'm going to do a whole video on. That guy seriously needs to back off the children. Anyways, let's have a look at this first video. And let's see what this young girl has gone through and why she's suing her doctors. Okay, let's do this.
There is no surgical intervention happening to transgender children to change their sex. They are the actual facts.
She said. So how old are you? How old are you now?
I'm 18.
How old were you when you got top surgery?
I was 15 when I underwent the mastectomy.
15.
Yeah.
And how old?
This is going a little too fast. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Okay, let's try this.
How old were you when you started testosterone?
I was 13.
This bitch is wrong. I mean, we got someone with direct experience here. So I have with me Chloe.
13 when she was put on testosterone. I give up.
And Bob, usually when people talk about detransitioners, the first thing they think of is you are a detransitioner. You are a transitioner. 30 years of transition experience, lived experience. The queer community, I should say, constantly silences people like you. Why do you think these people continue to lie about this?
I think it's for their own convenience, really, to save face. And I feel like they don't actually believe that it's not happening. They know that it's happening, and it's happening a lot.
Two things could be true at once.
It is great that he is happy where he is and that his transition was successful. But for some, it's not that easy. It really isn't.
People can make mistakes. And sometimes people don't make mistakes.
That's right.
You can have both. Because all of this happened to you, you are taking a very firm stance. You're working on holding physicians and therapists accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And hopefully the trans community as well, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about your whole experience on that? Because I know you've done some interviews with Fox News and other networks.
I'm suing my healthcare provider. I'm suing Kaiser. I'm suing the hospital that did my surgery. I have gender specialists, endocrinologist, and the surgeon who were involved in this.
What do you think about that?
Well, no, I think it's important.
Yeah,
and again, I'll tell you, if it wasn't for this medicine, I wouldn't be here today. But that being said, I don't believe that they don't not need to be held accountable because they're sloppy.
These ideologues have basically made it so that the affirmative care model is just basically like one size fits all. And there's no like regards to like any comorbid conditions that might be behind dysphoria. I had a lot of issues that I didn't even know about or that arose while I was transitioning that just weren't really properly addressed.
My physicians were not sloppy. They made me go through a system. It took a long time for me to get it.
This is so scary that she went through so little before starting the process of transitioning. This should never be allowed. Please, I emphasize, allow our children the space to grow, to learn, to find their own paths of who they want to be and where they want to be in life. This is a scary, scary place to be. My heart breaks for this young girl.
I didn't get it in 15
And they only
minutes.
get more and more careless.
Oh
as
my
years go
God.
on.
It's because they're not being held accountable. And this idea of this community is always saying, we need to hold you accountable. We need to hold. Well, doctors who do messy stuff like this, somebody needs to be held accountable for what happened to you. It's not me. It's not that. It's the system. The system is corrupt now because we just let everyone self-ID and be part of this whole thing without having any type of system that they call gatekeeping. And, you know, I don't care what you call it, but that is an important, integral part of transition. It's actually, you know, a community that's always talking about lived experience and always talking about inclusivity and diversity, and then accept when that doesn't sort of go along with the narrative. And I think that's why people sort of say things about you and don't want to hear what you have to say, but they can't deny the fact that you're a living human being who got sucked into this.
Fact. Medical professionals are not giving puberty blockers to children who have not reached puberty. Fact. Puberty blockers are fully reversible.
Oh, God.
Is that true?
So I'm 5 foot. I'm about like 5'3", 5'4". I was projected to grow to about 5 foot.
Wow. People believe this. People believe that children are not being given these things, not having these things done. And it's right here in front of you. Please see the wood through the trees. See what is going on behind closed doors. Protect our children from people like Jeffrey Marsh. I cannot say that loud enough. I cannot be more firm in saying that. This guy is on the internet asking children, do you want to go no contact with your family? Back off. Our children need space to grow, to learn, to understand what all of this means, not only for their now, but their future. So sad.
6 to about 5'8", but the blockers, I'm pretty sure.
Really? I didn't know that they did that.
I didn't know about this until I recently went through my medical records. I experienced some joint pains. I get back pain if I stand up for extended periods of time, unfortunately.
How long were you on testosterone? Also, that's not puberty blocker, but that's an added.
I was on it for about 3 years.
3 years.
Some months.
Did they block your puberty?
Yeah.
Oh, so
I was
you
on
were on
blockers alongside testosterone.
with the testosterone.
Yeah, they started like
Wow.
about a month before I started on testosterone to like basically like clear out the sex hormones,
Wow.
natural sex hormone production on my body.
At the age of what?
13.
Oh my God. I mean, really, that's disgusting. That's child abuse.
Yeah,
That's actual child abuse.
While I was on the blockers, I would get really bad hot flashes too because
13, guys. 13. She would not have understood the impact that this medication would have had on her body. There's no way possible for her to have understood all of that. Yes, saying, I want to be a boy. Okay, this is how you become a boy. Okay, I don't care about not having children. But then 10 years down the line, when you realize that you made a mistake and you want all of that, the picket fence with the 3 children and the dog, that all you can have is the picket fence and the dog because the children, the option of children got taken away from you. What are we doing to our children? And so much of this is being used for content on the internet. TV shows. What are we doing?
it would basically put me into like a state of menopause. I had a lot of side effects from testosterone as well, some of which weren't disclosed to me. Like I remember like my endocrinologist telling me like, oh, like when I was 13, when I had the consultation, she was like, oh, this might affect your fertility. No, because I was a kid, I was like, oh,
I don't care.
But then she was also like, are you aware that you may experience vaginal atrophy? Like Can you imagine like saying this face to face to a 13-year-old?
No. Do you think that they think it will hurt the trans cause if people like you speak about what happened to you?
Yeah, and as soon as I even started speaking about like the regret and like the physical side effects that I started experiencing, I got like a lot of backlash from people that I considered my close friends. Like it often came from like other like FGM individuals. They would say like, you were 13, you weren't 5 years old, you knew what you were doing to yourself.
According to science, your brain doesn't even fully develop until you're 26.
That is not a trans community. That is an ideology.
I've been doing this YouTube thing for a number of years now. Do you remember when Bria and Chrissy had that revenge porn case?
And guys, she is not the only one. Let me come back here a second. Where? Right. She's not the only child. This is happening to more than just one. They're out here shouted that these people are not having puberty blockers. They're not having testosterone. I gotta quit trying to say that word. But it is happening. And it shouldn't. We need to protect our children. This is money in a doctor's pockets. And that's all it is to them. They don't care that in 10 years' time you could decide that wasn't for me. I made a mistake. I took a wrong turn on a path. She's not the only one. This is so hard to talk about. And this is so terrifying.
Bailey's on her way to a doctor's appointment. For the last 2 years, she's been taking puberty blockers to prevent her body developing into a woman. Today, she'll find out if she can start taking testosterone to put her through the puberty of a boy.
If Bailey had his preference, he'd be getting testosterone now, so he'd be going through puberty like the rest of his friends.
It kind of bothers me a bit because some of my friends are already getting taller and their voices are getting deeper, and I'll be 14 and just be starting it, and that's kind of late. Kind of.
Does Bailey look old enough to be taking puberty blockers? Honestly? Does Bailey look old enough to be having any of this medication?
It's uncomfortable sometimes.
Bailey's doctor is one of the world's leading experts in the treatment of gender dysphoria, Dr. Norman Spack.
Well, here we are.
He's finding increasing numbers of families coming forward.
We're really at a pivotal stage. We're at a point where it's becoming part of the public discourse. My hope is that we will begin to just help.
How many of these families are on TikTok talking about their journeys with their children at this age? Bailey isn't even 14. We're going to hear how old Bailey is now in a second.
People be who they are. And it's almost like watching people get reborn. Shoulder straight, back in.
When it comes to prescribing testosterone, Dr. Spack has to be extremely careful. The hormone has a major side effect. It would stop Bailey growing any taller.
I've probably given it to someone as young as 13 and a half, 14. But I think Bailey should know.
13 and a half to 14. He's given this medication to someone 13 and a half to 14. But it's not happening to children, right?
Fully what the implications are. Because the longer we defer, the taller Bailey can be. At this point, 12 years, 7 months, if you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
That
Did you hear that, guys? 12 years. 12.
was full male from when I was born, that I was rich and I had.
Wait a minute, I said things that I could provide.
Oh.
What do we talk about a lot, though, that you wish you could start the testosterone now because your friends are starting to hit puberty? And
I do, but I don't want to be short my whole life. That would be annoying.
The best hope for maximum growth might be to make your puberty certainly not early, but maybe a little bit on the later side.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what my mom was saying.
and it can grab more height.
The effects of testosterone would be life-changing for Bailey. This hormone would almost certainly make her infertile.
He's looking towards the future, and
almost certainly make her infertile. What are we doing to our children? I need to keep calm.
when he ultimately is an adult and settles down and gets married or whatever, he was wondering, would it still be possible for him to have eggs removed and stored for future use, or is that something that we would have needed to do beforehand, or
Because it's okay either way.
They cannot store eggs
Okay.
these days
Okay.
like they can store sperm. And I think that anyone who takes testosterone should be doing it with the understanding that in so doing, making fertility not possible.
Mm-hmm.
They need to see the finality of that decision.
I think for Bailey, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you just want to be able to be a parent someday, and it doesn't matter if it's biological or adopted or stepchild, but
Doesn't matter.
Well, it's commendable, and that is always possible.
I'm not sure if it's sunk in completely yet. Yeah, it's a little heartbreaking, but there's no guarantee that either one of my children would have had or will have children in the future. So I'm not sure if it's really sunk in yet.
So it's not happening to children, guys, is it? It's really not happening to children. This is wrong, and it needs to stop. Give our children a chance to grow, to learn, to be able to comprehend exactly what this process means. I would do anything to protect my child. And if my child came home tomorrow, my 8-year-old, and said, "Mom, I want to be a girl," I would sit him down. I would watch some of these videos with him. And the first thing I would say is, the children can be really, really, really cruel. If this is what you really want, we have to wait until the time is right, until you're truly able to understand what it all means. You can be whoever you are in the space, in the safety of your own home. But for now at school, we keep going as we are now. And when the time comes and time is right, and if you still feel this way, we can talk to the necessary people. But right now, you are not in a place where you can understand this. What this means for you, for your body, and your future. And maybe it's just a phase, and maybe it's not. But in a couple of years, if it's not a phase, and we sit down and we talk again, and I'm not saying it's a conversation that's going to stop right here, because it's not. It's one that's ongoing throughout the next 5-10 years of your life. But I don't want you to destroy your future by making a decision that could turn out to be a mistake. Because I love you. Because I swore from the moment you were born to protect you with every beat of my heart. And whether you were a boy or a girl, whether you're straight, bi, gay, makes no difference to me. You're still the child that I loved from the day that you came into this world, before even the moment I heard your heartbeat or saw your little hand waving from the inside of my tummy. But I'm looking at these children and I'm seeing how many people are realizing the mistake they made through lack of understanding. And it makes me so sad. In the safety of your own home, you can be protected from the monsters outside, from the cruelty of other children who pick it up from their own parents, because cruelty is taught. It's not something that comes naturally. And other parents, they don't care what they say around their children. Doesn't faze them one bit. But me, I care. I care about my child's future. Anyways, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. What are your thoughts? How do you process? How do we protect our children? How do we do what's right for them? Hit that like button, share. Let people see the truth. Leave a comment. Wherever you feel like. Because every opinion is an opinion that should be considered. Your opinions matter too. Have a great day all.